Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining Senior Scholarships 101. My name is Angie Anthony, and I am the Director of Scholarships for Hillsborough Education Foundation. I just want to go over a little housekeeping real quick. We will be recording this presentation and it will be posted to our website by the end of next week. And closed captioning is available. If you are not seeing it on your screen, you need to get to the little menu window and open it up with this option right here. And you can enter your questions in the chat by clicking on there. But I do ask that you hold your questions till the end, as they will probably be answered as we go along. Additionally, I want to tell you a little bit about Hillsborough Education Foundation, and that is, we believe that strengthening public education builds a better community. We believe that public school success is vital to our county's prosperity. And we also believe that a community engaged in making educational excellence a priority will transform Hillsborough County. And you're going to see some of that engagement from the generous community donors that we have who give scholarships to educate our youth and set them on the path to success. And that's the basis of our program. Without our donors, we wouldn't have a program. Our learning objectives for this evening are, I will be going over different criteria and eligibility. We're also going to talk about the types of scholarships that we have available and look at some examples. I'm going to do a deep dive into the application process, so you'll see a little bit of what it looks like, learn how the system works, and then I'll go over the award process. So at this point in time, those that have joined us this evening are either a student who this is your senior year and it's arrived faster than you expected, and now you're planning your next steps. Or I'm certain we have a lot of parents on the phone who just can't believe that the years have flown by and your child will be headed off to school soon. Either way, let's dive in and talk about senior scholarships. So I want to tell you where we've been and what last year was like so that you can have an idea of what this year will be like. We were fortunate enough to award over 330 scholarships that ranged in value from $500 up to a full 4-year University Florida prepaid plan. Additionally, last year we had a scholarship that was valued at $40,000. So what did it total? Well, the total value distributed to seniors in Hillsborough County alone last year was $906,000. And we are not expecting this year to be much different. So who are these donors? Well, they come from a variety of different sources. We have some that are individuals and families that, for various reasons, want to contribute to helping students get through college. Sometimes it's a gift in honor of someone or maybe in memory of someone. And we also have some endowments where donors have given us funding that we invest, and the earnings are able to be used to perpetually generate scholarships on an ongoing basis. We also have companies like the Suncoast Credit Union and the Outback Steakhouse. And it's not limited to those. Those are just examples. And we have nonprofit organizations who donate. We have various different sorority alumni groups. Kiwanis of Tampa is one of the groups that contributes. The Derek Jeter Turn 2 Foundation. And we also have a few Gasparilla crews that they raise money during the year and they're able to generate scholarships annually. In total, we have over 100 named scholarships, and there's nearly that many donors that make up the donations for those. That said, each of those named scholarships can have multiple awards within them. So there may be named scholarships like Kiwanis. They have the Arthur Henderson Foundation Scholarship, and I'm going to show you that shortly. It's not a foundation, but Arthur Henderson Scholarship, but they give 5 of each of them. So that's what I'm getting at. So there's 100 named, which means each of those names have distinctly different criteria to be eligible, and there may be multiple awards. Eligibility. I'm sure this is a big question for all of you. So our scholarships are open to all Hillsborough County seniors that can be attending public school, be it charter or virtual. We have additionally several scholarships that are also open to homeschool and private school students. So essentially, I'm going to start saying it now, and I will say it throughout this evening. Every high school senior in Hillsborough County should be applying for our multitude of scholarships. Eligibility. Well, some go by the GPA as a filtering criteria, and there are many combinations of these. We use the unweighted GPA, which is listed on report cards as the cumulative state GPA. So this is the 0 to 4.0. Some have a restriction over what type of school the student may go to with the funding. Some want them to go to traditional universities. Some are specifically for community colleges, and others are just for technical school, technical college or trade school. An example, I have a scholarship that's for cosmetology students who want to go to cosmetology school. So again, that everybody should be applying. And I have a lot of scholarships that make no restriction as to the type of school. Some have specific majors that they want to see the students studying. Some are specific to high schools. So only students at that one or maybe group of high schools within Hillsborough County are eligible. Some take into consideration the number of community service hours and extracurricular activities, as well as financial need. So about half of our 100 named scholarships are looking for students that demonstrate financial need, and I'm going to define that in a minute. But the other half are not. So again, everybody should be applying for our scholarships. So how are we defining financial need? Well, we look for students that are qualified. The household qualifies for one of the social assistance programs that we have listed here. And I don't think I said this in the beginning, but please don't feel like you have to frantically take notes. In addition to me posting the webinar, we will also be posting the slides. So you will have all of this material available on our website, educationfoundation.com/senior scholarships. So turning back to these programs, the first one I have listed is the free or reduced lunch. And we will require documentation of the qualification. We ask for it in the application, but it is not a required field. However, if the student does not upload the required documentation and when we go to do awards, we see that they have not done that and they would be the selection, we kind of put them into a pre-selection category because we can't award it until we have the documentation. So at that point, I reach out and you will only have 2 weeks to get it to me. So it's really better if you upload it up front. where I'm going with that is that the free and reduced lunch category requires the household tax form 1040. We're looking for the first 2 pages because we are looking for the gross annual income. It does need to be the household that the student resides in. And if you're wondering why, it is because there is funding for several of our high schools to have a blanket free lunch. So the entire school is, it's like they qualify the whole school, but that does not mean that every household meets the guidelines for receiving free or reduced lunch. So we have to verify the income and categorize it according to that chart, which I will show you in a minute. The next ones are a little easier. If the student has Medicaid, we just need a copy of the card. If the household is receiving WIC, TAMP, SNAP, or housing assistance, for most of those, we just need the letter that you receive that shows who is eligible in the household and some form of identification. So those are all detailed in the application. If you have any questions, please reach out and I will help you. So let's talk a little more about that free and reduced lunch business. We are looking for line 9 on the tax form. It is the pre-tax annual earnings, and it is based on the household size. So you can see here, if the, let's go with an average household of 4. So if there's 4 people in the household that number needs to correspond with the number on the tax form. They need to be listed as dependents or however that is identified on there that we can see the household number. So it all has to correspond to the 1040. So if there are 4 people in the household on the form, the household income cannot be higher than $57,720. If the household only has 2, let's say it's mom or dad and 1 student that are both on that household's tax form 1040, the maximum income is $37,814. I've never seen more than 8, but let's just say you've got a house full of 9. The cap would be $97,532. And for each additional family member, you can add $9,953 to the $97,532. And that was probably confusing, so we can talk about it after if you have additional questions. And of course, reach out to me later. I'm always available to answer questions. This chart is also in the application for reference and obviously will be in your slides. So I kind of jumped ahead, I guess, when I was telling you about the documentation, but we do ask that you upload it with the application. Otherwise, the student may be awarded preliminarily, and that they would only be given 2 weeks to submit it. An additional thing to know here is that the only students who are going to be asked for the documentation are the ones who indicated that they qualified for one of these programs. So if the household, if you know that you do not qualify for these, you will not be asked for the documentation. So the system knows whether or not to ask you. Additionally, it's only going to ask you for it if the student qualifies for a particular scholarship that requires financial need by the other quantitative elements. Example, Let's say the student has a 3.0, uh, and there is a scholarship that requires financial need, but the minimum GPA is 3.2. The system is not going to ask the student to upload any of the information because they didn't qualify. So it's a good sign when it's asking you for the information because you've met all of the other criteria. All right, so let's talk about the scholarships a little bit. What are the offerings? So I kind of already covered some of this territory that they're really all over the map. You can go just about anywhere you want. You can go anywhere you want. Most of them are 1 year. Let me back up on that. You can go anywhere you want based on the scholarships, which scholarships you qualified for. There are some that make absolutely no restriction to where the student is going. You can go for those that are unrestricted in the state of Florida or out of the state of Florida. They are not restricted. When you're looking at the scholarship descriptions, if you do not see anything specified for a particular school, like I do have one that's specifically for Georgia Tech. If it doesn't specify a school or it doesn't specify you have to go to traditional or a community college or a trade school, then it does not have a restriction. Most of ours are 1 year awards. We do have several multi-year awards. The total amount is distributed. Some are over 2 years, some are over 4 years, and they require an annual update so we can verify that the student is still enrolled in school. And some are conditional so that annually one of the things the students have to submit is a transcript, and some will have a minimum GPA threshold that needs to be maintained throughout the college years for a multi-year. They range in value, like I said already, 500 to 40,000, and we also have several Florida prepaid plans. Some are 2 year, and we have at least one 4 year. So remember I was talking about that Kiwanis Arthur Henderson scholarship, and here are the actual criteria for this one. Minimum 3.2 unweighted GPA, 75 or more community service hours. This one has 2 additional essays and the financial need component. So I want to go back to what I was saying about it's intuitive. The system is intuitive. So if the student does not meet the GPA requirement or they don't meet the hours, the community service hour requirement, they are not going to be asked to do the additional work, which is really neat. It's a great one-stop shop to hit over 100 scholarships with one application. And you'll know that when you're doing the additional essays, you qualified. I don't think I said this, but there are 2 required scholarships in the base application. So this particular scholarship requires more, and these can add up. And please, I know you guys don't like doing the extra essays, but please take your time to do them because you've qualified, and that's a really good thing. And a lot of people don't bother doing the extra essays. If you do not do the extra essays, then you're not qualified for the scholarship. This one also has an additional requirement. It's not a requirement, excuse me, it's a preference for students who are majoring in education, early childhood, preschool education, or development. I included this example of the Braulio and Adelpha Alonso scholarship to show you that there are some that are really simple. This one only requires that the student student be attending Alonso High School and that they're attending a college or university. That's it. So I want you to think about how many students, seniors at Alonzo are going to apply. That's your competition. So it's a pretty easy eligibility. Make sure you apply. The Outback Steakhouse Scholarship is another one that we have. So this scholarship has a minimum 3.0 unweighted GPA, and they are specifically looking for students who want to attend a culinary arts program. So cooking school, great. It's a $1,500 scholarship. And I added this one just to demonstrate to you an example of a trade school or a technical college scholarship. I have some that are for automotive, for HVAC, woodworking, plumbing, you name it. And most of them only have 2.5 GPAs. I have a couple that are 2.0 GPAs. So sometimes I hear from students that they don't think their GPA will be good enough. And I don't want you to think that, because guess what? I have some scholarships that don't even require a GPA minimum. So I'll say it again. Everybody, all seniors in Hillsborough County should be applying for our scholarships. The next thing I want to address is the actual application itself. Don't dread it. It shouldn't take you long. I know you guys are going to hate to hear this, but put aside an hour and get started on it. You can work on it little by little. It saves as you go, and you can always come back and change things. So the earlier you start, the better for you. As far as giving yourself time to truly see what's on the application and think about your answers. So the application period is going to run November 1st through January 31st of next year. It cuts off at midnight. So please, please, please do not wait until the last minute to start this. Because you remember those extra essays and the things that I said it will only ask the qualified students to complete? They only appear after the general application has been completed. So every year I have students who misjudge just how much needs to be done. If you qualify for a lot, think about it. I have over 100 named scholarships. So if you qualify for a lot, there may be a lot of work to be done later. Done after the general application. And if you start it on the 31st, you might not be able to finish it. You can always save and return later. It doesn't matter who's first or second to complete the application. We do not begin reviews until February. It's getting late. We don't review until February. So basically all of the applications are submitted, and that's when we begin the reviews. I also want to point out that last year, 2,777 students started the application, but only a little more than half of that actually completed. So the competition for our scholarships was only this number. And I also want you to think back to that Alonzo High School scholarship. Think about how small the number for competition was for that. Pretty small. All right. So the application is online. You're going to access it through our website. It will take you to a platform called AwardSpring. As I've said, it's one general application, and all of the questions are basically filtering you into buckets for what you qualify for. There are the two required 250 essays, 250 word. That is a large paragraph. It's not a lot. It's really not. This should not take you very long. But the two are required, and the additionals will only come up if you qualified based on other quantitative elements. There are 4 sections: student information, which is probably the most questions are in there, where we just want to know everything we can glean about the student, and the essays are there, the 2 basic ones. Then there's a post-secondary school and future plans section. Then we ask for the household and financial information. And the last section isn't really much to complete, but it's a lot to read. So it's just the acknowledgments and authorizations. Returning our attention to the household and financial information, I find that students absolutely end up needing some assistance from a parent or guardian. If any of the questions cause you hesitation or you're not sure how to answer them, please ask somebody for help. If you can't get help from a parent or guardian, you can call me, you can call your guidance counselors, and any other adult in your life who may know more of what we're looking for and be able to guide you. Getting to the application. So again, this will be in the slides. There will be, you'll need to go to our website, specifically the senior scholarships page. You can use this QR code, and our website is in transition right now. So I am not sure what the button is going to look like, because it doesn't appear until they enable it. But there will be something linking you that says submit your application. And that will take you to the award spring platform. So the landing page is going to look like this, and you're going to want to click over here on register or down here. Because I would bet you're all new. Please make sure that you're using the student's name for the registration and email address. That is how we communicate with the student, and it is the student who should be completing the application. So please do not use parental information here. Once you've registered and you log in, you're going to land on this page, which is the dashboard. And you can see there are a few things here, but to get started, you're going to want to click on application or complete. I even think apply will work, but I wasn't ready to get off of that page. I also wanted to point out that there is also, you can view scholarships here with their descriptions. But I don't recommend getting too hung up in that, because there are so many that by the time you read through all of it and try to figure out if you are qualified, you could have been at least halfway through with the application. So why not get started, and then it will tell you what you're qualified for. And I will show that to you shortly. Once you begin the application, this is how it's going to look. And please ignore some of the dates as they are old, because I recycle my slides where I can. So you're gonna work on the sections. Remember, I said there were 4 sections, and this is what they look like. The questions will appear as you scroll down on this page. And to get to the next one, you're gonna click on next step. As you're working on the sections, it's going to show you the progress and where you're at with it. And when you finish each section, it's going to tell you that you're completed. This is when we want to look for additional work. So when they are all completed, you are going to click on this submit application. And remember, you can come back and make changes. So it's not critical that you hold off on submitting that. It's better you get submitted, because what if something delays you to make a change later? Get done, get it submitted. You can always come back. Once you click on submit application, that's when the additional work becomes visible. So as you can see here, it's took me back to the dashboard, And now it's showing me additional scholarships. It's telling me you're eligible, which means you met the quantifiable, things that are numbers or that we can measure. You met those qualifications. So now they want more information. This is also where you're going to find the area to upload financial need related documents. And you will not have to upload them every time. If all of these required financial need, once you've uploaded it for one, it will apply it to the others. There are a couple of scholarships that require letters of recommendation. Most of what you'll see will be the financial need documents and additional essays. Please, please, please make sure you do this work. The additional work that it's asking you for. It's a lot of money that we have to give, and you've come this far, so finish it off. This is an example of what an additional essay would look like. And this is your time to shine. So this is when you want to use those persuasive writing skills and tell your story. And that's really what the donors are looking for is, what's your story? Like I said, 250 words is just a large paragraph. There are a few that ask for a little more, but not many. And every time you complete one of these, and you can see it's specific to a specific scholarship, once you're finished, this will light up and become yellow, like we saw on the other screen, and you'll be able to submit the application for that particular scholarship. And then it will take you back to the screen that I showed you for you to complete work. It'll show that one as completed. And when you're done with all of them, this is what it's going to look like. Your dashboard is very clearly going to say there is nothing left for you to complete. So at this point, what I recommend you do, whoops, let me go back. What I recommend you do is click on scholarships. I'm sorry I don't have that circled, but see over here on the left, click on scholarships. So it will take you to a screen that looks like this, and it will show you your status for every one of our over 100 scholarships. There are only, at this point in the application process, there will only be these three statuses. You have either applied, meaning you did the extra work if any was required. You are not qualified, which means you did not meet one of the qualifications like a minimum GPA, or you need to complete follow-up. And when you need to complete follow-up, that means there's that extra work that you need to look at and do. If you were to click in on one of the scholarships, so we're going to click in on, I'm going to show you what it would look like if we clicked in on the Bay Area Manufacturers Association scholarship. It's going to give you just a quick overview, and then it has the qualifications. So these are all of the requirements for the students. Again, please disregard the dates because I recycle my slides. If the amount has been decided upon, it will be listed. Sometimes these will be blank, and there's a couple of reasons. Some donors wait and determine how much funds they want to give to each student based on how many qualified applicants there are. Some want to spread the money around a little more. Some others, there's a system limitation, and so if there's a Florida prepaid involved, it will say that in the overview, but there won't be a dollar amount because they're not based on a dollar amount, they're based on credit hours. Additionally, remember how I said, I'm going to say it again, I said in the beginning, when you get started, I would dive into the application. It's one thing to take a peek at the scholarships and maybe look at a few, but to go through a list of over 100 and try to figure out which ones you meet and you're writing it down, that's really super time consuming when all you really need to do is complete the application. And as I showed you before, it's going to show you what you qualified for. So next, let's talk about the review process, because I'm sure you're curious about that. Each scholarship, regardless of each scholarship application, is reviewed by a minimum of 3 reviewers. Sometimes those are the donors, and in the example of like families who are giving a scholarship, sometimes the families get together and decide on the final awardees, but they each do score independently, and we use a standardized scoring rubric. So, we're all judging on the same things. About half of our donors, though, prefer not to review the applications. So I have an army of independent volunteer reviewers that we deploy, and we assign a minimum of 3 to each application. I also, when we talk about like having organizations and philanthropic groups, many of them have review committees, so they all do the online scoring, and then they get together about the final awards. The scores are averaged, and the top scoring students are the awardees. The reviewers, including the reviewers, do not see student name and contact information. They do not see the financial need information that is uploaded. Only I see that. Literally, only I see it. The Our donors and reviewers know that we are qualifying that element. So they know that the pool of students that we give them to review the applications from have been qualified as meeting the financial need. We do not display the race or ethnicity or gender of the students either at the review time. So reviewers do not see that. The information is, some of this information is released to donors, and that is part of the acknowledgments, and I can't remember the name of that section, but approvals that you'll need to give when you're applying, that we do provide the fuller information to the donors after, but it excludes the financial need information. No one sees it but me. Okay, review categories. So what are they judging the applications on? Well, they're looking at that unweighted GPA, extracurricular activities, and demonstration of leadership abilities. They look at the community service hours, the content of the essays. That is where the bulk of the points come from. And guess what? Points come from grammar and spelling too. So it's important that you spell check your content before you submit your final application. I can't stress this enough. Take your time to write those essays. This is the heart of you, and that is the real way that you can persuade the reviewers. They also assess employment hours. So we're very aware that students that are working more have obviously much less time to dedicate to community service and extracurricular activities. Moving to the awards process. So we're back at the scholarships, the scholarships tab in your award spring profile. So you'll be able to log back in even after the application has closed. You will see that the statuses start to change. Typically in late March, and through April. Um, Remember, it's just me. So I work on these in batches, and I'm literally clicking who the awardee is, and it's updating the statuses as we go. So applied for everything you applied for, not applied. What does that mean? That means that you didn't do the extra follow-up work. Not qualified means you weren't qualified. So you either didn't meet the GPA requirement or community service hours or something along those lines excluded you from the qualifying students. And they will also start changing to awarded and denied. So as I'm awarding, the system will be emailing the student and it will be updating the system so that the student can see it. The award amounts will display when known or possible. Remember my example of Florida prepaids that a dollar amount is not going to show, but it will be in the description. As we talked about the preliminary awards, if a student is contacted for the financial need documents, those I will not make the actual final award, so it will not change in the system until I have the financial need documents. And if I do not receive them, if they weren't uploaded and I do not get them within 2 weeks of my request, we will move on to the next student. So it is much better to upload all of it from the beginning, especially if it's something you need to get from your parents, if you think it may be hard to get. Another thought here that I should have included is we don't need the social security numbers on it. So feel free to black those out if you want. I have to update the slides for next year. But it's best that you upload what you can from the start. I already kind of covered this ground that I'm making my awards. Generally, most of it is done by mid-April. So you can check your dashboard, and this is an example of what an email from me will look like from the system, really, but telling you that you've been awarded. Claiming funds. So we will be asking for an enrollment verification from the school that the student awardee will be attending. You will have plenty of time to get that to us. We also ask for an information release because we like social media like everybody else. We also do press releases. There is no obligation to give permission for this, but a lot of times there's some really great content in the third item that we ask for, and that is a thank you letter for your donor. And so we like to share that. Once we have all three of these things, then we will send a check directly to the school, and the school will apply it to your account. Funding can be used for tuition, books, fees, housing, and meal plans. And these three items, to claim your funds, these three items must be submitted by February 28th of 2026. So not next year, but the year after. You'll be halfway through your first year in college. So exciting. But you can get it in as soon as you can get it all together too. Sooner you get it into us, the sooner we get the check to the school. Expect those awards when I'm awarding and you're getting these emails to come in waves. I do a little batch at a time. All right. So to sum it up, I want to go over some helpful hints, things that I've commonly see over the years. And that would be to read the instructions and the questions thoroughly. Make sure you understand what the question is asking you, and then make sure you are answering exactly what they asked you. Great example is the unweighted GPA. I frequently see GPAs over 4.0, and I know those are the weighted. When I see them, and I do review the content throughout the application period, when I see them, I contact the student to correct it. Or I delete it and then contact the student to correct it. And we have to have a GPA. So make sure you're putting in 4.0 or less. That is the cumulative state GPA on your report card. Review the answer choices carefully. So an example is the question about the extracurriculars has numerous drop downs that you can select. Make sure you read all of them carefully and that you click everything that you participated in, because most of them, I'd say 95% of them, are qualifiers for scholarships. So, example, one scholarship is for male students participating in basketball. If you skipped it because you were going fast and you missed it, and you're a male who plays basketball, you're not going to qualify because you went through it too fast. So make sure you're capturing everything. I know these get missed because sometimes we pick up the information later in the essays, but it's too late because the applications for everybody that qualified have already gone out for reviews. So you've got to make sure you do that section carefully and correctly. Same with the student majors. Select all of the extracurriculars that apply. Answer those essay questions and the follow-ups. That's huge. Stay on topic. Be mindful of the word count. This is your highest scoring point area. And I'm going to say it again, spelling counts. There are points attached to it. Make sure you spell and grammar check. My suggestion is you write it up in Word first, spell and grammar check, and then paste it into the application. Remember, you can come and go in the application. It's saving as you come and go. Do not wait until the last minute. And do not forget to hit submit application. A quick timeline. So the application opens November 1st of this year. That's next week. And it closes January 31st of 2025 at 11:59 p.m. We will be making awards and announcements. You can pretty much count on them to be done by mid-April, and some of them go a little longer for reasons that I already explained. I additionally want to share some gratitude quotes that I've pulled from different students' letters over the years, and I'll let you read those to yourself. And again, this will also be in the slides. We will have the slides and the recording ready and posted on our website by the end of next week. And lastly, let's look at the chat. And here's my contact information as well. And thank you. Let's go see what's in chat.